Good afternoon and welcome to this week's reading. This week we are going to be sitting in a little bit of discomfort and trying to kind of deal with some pressure of waiting. And the kind of overlying theme for today is when something out of sync becomes visible, what holds you through the pressure and the discomfort of the unveiling? And kind of the whole purpose of today's reading is to bring to mind that sometimes when something is starting to emerge, when something feels off, when there's something that's shifting, rarely do we have like an immediate answer, an immediate solution, yet the brain keeps wanting to jump in and solve everything, right? So when we feel uncomfortable, we all start to look for the answer or the fix to make the uncomfortable feelings go away. The problem with rushing to fix something, though, especially something that might be emotionally charged or still unformed or unclear, means that we risk fixing something that might be emotionally charged. And because of that, we might be fixing it in like the wrong way. Because sometimes there's things that come out that require no fixing. They just need time to evolve and to reveal themselves. And so there's times when we need to sit with the knowledge that there is something off and that there's something that needs to change or wants to change or may be changing without running forward and changing it ourselves. And it's funny because I think this is one of the reasons why some solutions that we come up with are meant to fail. And it's because we start racing off to fix a problem before we fully understand what the problem is. And we're simply diverting our energy away. And in the end, we run short of any clear solution because what we're attempting to fix is the assumption that we know what the problem is. Some situations, they do take a lot of time to fully form, so we're being asked to sit and wait until what is coming up has a clear structure to explore. I shared this idea with a friend of mine earlier, and I think it's a really good example of what's going on when this happens, right? And so, what we tend to currently experience is similar to if you have a yard or anything like that, when you get an invasive species that kind of start like a weed that starts to get in and creep into your lawn, it can be very hard to get it out. So, the story that I had shared was I have raspberry bushes that are growing up everywhere. And the problem with raspberry bushes is that once they start to creep into your yard, that's when you become aware of them. But the problem has started a long time ago, or there's an issue that's going on under the surface that you need to be made aware of. Most people will see the raspberry bush and they figure, oh, okay, so if there's a raspberry bush, I just cut it off or I pull it out and that deals with the problem. But the thing is raspberry bushes have lateral growing root systems that the plants spring off of. So they'll go so far underground and then a plant will spring up. And so you can pull all the raspberry bushes out, like all the emerging plants out that you want. It's going to make no difference in the long run because you have to find a way to get all the way back to the main plant and pull it from there. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing the same thing over and over again. And so this whole spread that we're doing today is about that same kind of thing of what do you do when the discomfort of knowing there's a root somewhere that is yet to be formed, yet to be identified, and how do you sit in the discomfort of that? Because that's really what you're being asked to do is wait, because whatever is happening is yet to be fully formed. And so, yeah, like right now, we're being asked to sit in the discomfort of the unknown, of where that raspberry plant came from, as we find the way to discover the origins of the infestation. And until the root takes shape, we need to feel our way through the messy and uncertain and incomplete situation. So it's really important to remember that as we're going through this situation, that it's about allowing the root, so to speak, to be discovered, to be formed, because what we're dealing with now is the beginning of mutations. It's the beginning of things that are shifting and changing and upsetting the status quo without really being aware of why and how and what's going on. So, the question that I'm going to shuffle into our cards for today is what situations are you feeling pressure to understand and fix? So, what situations are you feeling the pressure to understand and fix? And shuffle those in. We'll pick our cards. So as I lay the cards out, a couple of things that I'll say before we start is this is a reading that if there's conflicting cards, if there's confusion in the reading, that's the reading doing what it's supposed to be doing because that's part of what we sit with is the confusion and trying to understand where the confusion is coming from, where's the problem coming from. And sometimes we're not meant to know that. We're not meant to rush that. So the other thing too is a bit of a kind of a caveat before we start is that this is about sitting and waiting as the process unfolds, as opposed to taking action and trying to solve whatever's going on and try to come up with an answer. And so that's why it's really important that as we're going through that we're thinking of the situations that these feelings might be present and how, like I said, how can you sit in that discomfort, right? What's going to be there to support you to sit through the discomfort as the full situation unveils itself. So, with that said, the first card we have is what unclear, unsettled, or upsetting situation is peeking up? And I kind of, when I built this, I had this idea of an iceberg, right? So, we're looking just at the little tip of the iceberg as to like, what is that niggling at you? And it's not meant to create stories, it's just a snapshot of what is the thing that is that little niggling at the back of your mind. And here we have the 10 of Wands, right? And so maybe that tip of the iceberg was a situation where it was the straw that broke the camel's back. And it can be something as simple as you got up and you saw that there were dirty dishes on the counter and it was like, again, this is here. Or it's one little thing that happened that pushed you over the edge that started to kind of bring this idea together that something is off, something needs to change, something is coming in, something is no longer working. But you're not being asked to fix it. You're being asked to just feel what the impact of that situation was, right? And so, what it's all going to come down to is one situation, one event. It could be big. It could be a very big thing that was put on your plate, put on your shoulders, that was just more than you can handle, more than that you could carry. It could be a very small thing as well. I can give an example, not necessarily kind of for this, like I can feel myself going through this in different ways, but this morning I got up and I looked outside and it was snowing. I'm like, no, so it's one of those things where it's just enough to kind of break you in the sense, but at the same time, it's why is it this one thing is at the root of it. And as I said, this is the tip of an iceberg. It's just starting to peek in and it's not you're not going to be able to say why. You're not going to be able to say what was it about this. You're going to just have to sit and go, this thing happened very out of character, very strange. It feels uncomfortable. It feels off. And I have no idea. It's very out of sync with what's going on. And that's what you're being asked to sit with because the answer is coming. It's just going to take some time. So now that we have like that little peak that's coming out, the next question is what marks the tip of the iceberg? So this is that one situation, that one overwhelming thing and again, it's overwhelming to the system because the system's already running on low, right? So as I said, that one overwhelming thing could be something very, very small that in any other time, any other situation, you go, whatever. But it just happened to be that one overwhelming thing. And now what marks the tip of the iceberg is the page of wands. And so the tip of the iceberg here, right? So you have that one overwhelming thing that's happening. And now what's starting to kind of peek out is this I want to say pressure in the sense of what this spread is all about, but this pressure to do something, right? So that's the tip of the iceberg is this event happened and now there's this pressure there. It feels like there's this opening to take action, but the action is unclear and the action is like I don't know what to do and it creates frustration and it might create anger because we're dealing with wands here, right? We're dealing with the fire. And so there's all these things that are going on and we're like there's something I feel that I need to do. And, wands are very motivational. They're very passion driven, right? So you're feeling this overwhelm, this pressure. I can't do it anymore. Something needs to change. And now the tip of the iceberg is saying, so we have to do something. We have to go. We have to blow this all out of the way and get rid of all of this. And because you're going from this emotional, energetic drive, the part of the problem is you're being asked to sit with it, right? And so you feel if you have to sit with this that there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of inability to sit still, there's an inability to you know focus on the things that you want to do because this is in the back of your mind of we need to do something about this. And if this, straw that broke the camel's back is in connection to someone else as well, then there might be a bit of an explosion of, I need to deal with this person. I need to have a conversation with this person. I need to cut ties with this person. And one of the reasons you're being asked to wait is that these are emotions that will pass and they are connected to, in a sense, the situation, but they are not feeding the situation and they are not the root of the situation. And what you're being asked is just wait and allow yourself to feel this. And that's why the whole purpose of the reading is what's going to hold you while you're sitting in this discomfort. And the Page of Wands in this situation is very uncomfortable because there's this need that something has shifted, something has changed, and I need to do something about it. Then we're going to go and we're going to look at what supports you to sit with this discomfort. So now we've just had our discomfort and but we want to sit with the discomfort of the compulsion to act while we wait, right? Because there's this idea that, okay, I'm going to sit here and wait, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, but I'm still waiting, right? Like we kind of fool ourselves into thinking that, but you're really right now being asked to just wait. And now we want to know what's going to support you to sit in this discomfort and to sit with that compulsion that we have to act while we're waiting. Wow, we got a lot of fire cards going on here because now we have the Nine of Wands. And what's going to sit with you is the understanding that what's going on right now is coming close to being the end of a cycle. There's things when you're sitting with all of this, right? And especially because we have so much fire energy going on here. And I will also point out that the Nine of Wands is sitting in the southern part of the spread, which is fire. So you got a fire card sitting in a fire position. So there's a lot of fire going on. And the cards, when you lay them out and you'll see in the picture when I post it, it's a column of fire, right? Like you've got a column of fire going on all over here in this situation. So there's a lot of burning that's going to be done. And what we want to look at is we want to understand that what we're doing is we're purifying, we're burning away all of the impurities around whatever is going on so that whatever the answer is, whatever the solution is, whatever the change is, it's going to emerge cleanly. It's going to emerge completely as it's meant to be, as long as we give it the space and the time it needs to fully, you know, burn away all of this problems. And sometimes the problems that it's burning away is that desire to kind of get out and take an action, the belief that we actually know what the answer is and that we know what the solution is. We have to allow the universe to unfold in its own time. And as much as we have capacity to do things, sometimes the thing that we have to do, which is the thing we have the least amount of capacity for, is to wait. The other thing I want to say with the Nine of Wands, being in this situation of what's supporting you, is that you need to make sure that you have the energy to take the final steps through when they're ready. And right now, it's just about sitting here and really allowing yourself to sit and know that you're at the ending point of whatever is going on. And what's going to emerge is going to emerge soon. But it's only going to emerge if you move slowly towards it. And the reason why you're moving slowly is because as you're moving toward it, you're tying up all the loose ends. You're bringing closure to things that you can bring closure to without trying to solve the current situation. So, what is being washed away? So, now we're moving out of fire and we're moving into air. So, here we have the Eight of Swords. And what's being washed away is the fears, the resistances, the worries that this change is bad, right? Usually when these things happen, there's something in our lives that's shifting, that's changing, that's emerging. Um, and we're always afraid of having those things shift and change and new things emerge and new patterns to set up and new ways of looking at things. It's very rare that people are open to being challenged and being accepting of taking on new challenges if it means that they have to change their mindset, if it means they have to change their rituals and their habits and all of their routines. But that needs to be washed away because what's emerging is a new way to be able to engage with your energy, a new way to be able to engage with your life, a new way for growth to happen. And so right now we need, again, while we're sitting with all this fire that's raging around us and that anxiety is building about something's different, something's changing and it's bad and we don't like it, to just allow that to be. And the really important thing is we're not sitting with it to fix it, right? We're not sitting here and going, I have this anger, I need to find a way to suppress it, I need to find a way to deal with it, I'm frustrated. It's sit with it. That's the whole point of this is the discomfort that all of this is bringing, right? So if we're afraid of sitting with the anger, if we're afraid of sitting with the anxiety, that's what we are being asked to sit with and to know that we are being held through this, that there is a purpose for all of this. And the last one we have is what will help open space for the answers to arrive in their own time. And back to the wands. Here we have the Eight of Wands. And the thing that opens space is when we allow ourselves to relax and allow the process to unfold. The Eight of Wands, a lot of times, is about things speeding up and things landing very quickly. And when you sit back and you let go, right? Like we hold on to that control so tightly that we want to make sure that we know the answers, that we know what's going on, that we're in control. But if we relax that and allow the process to happen, it'll happen a lot faster and a lot smoother than if we continue to hold on to it so tightly. One of the things that I also want to point out, it has been quite a while since I've had something like this happen. So of a 5 card spread, 4 of them are fire cards. We have, and I will say, we have the 8, the 9, the 10, and the page. So not only do we have a bunch of fire cards, we have a run of fire, right? So we go 8, 9, 10, and then of course the page would be the next one in the way the progression works. And so it's really important to understand that what's going on right now is there is an energetic run that is going on in our lives. There's an energetic purification that is going on in our lives, and we're reaching the end of a cycle. And the one card that is non-fire is the Eight of Swords, which is the same number that the first, like of the lowest fire. So you're both of them are at an 8. And so you have fire and air, which can actually like go together and kind of blow up in a sense. But they also, right, you can use air to regulate the fire based on how much air is fed to it. And so depending on your fear, if you look at fear as the amount of air that you're giving to this fire in this situation and the anxiety, the more you feed your fears, the more oxygen it'll feed to the fires of your anxiety, of your anger, of your frustration, of your desire to just get things done, which can lead to the possibility of burning bridges or, causing chaos that may be the wrong answer or the wrong direction for what you want. If you sit back and look at the fears and look at the roots, and we go back to the raspberry bushes, if the raspberry bushes are the fear, then the fears that are peaking up, it's important to use maybe the time to go back and look at like, what is at the root of the fear? What is at the root of the fear? And if you can get to the root of the fear, then the frustration that you're feeling with the situation that's shifting and changing will lessen. And as that fear, as that anxiety, as that need for control and that need to dominate and to understand and rule kind of over everything that's going on, as that eases, then that speed of the solution and the whole idea kind of coming into formation, it's going to come a lot faster, right? So I think these two cards are really, really key to understand that they're going to feed off of each other, right? So the more you fear, the faster you're going to lead yourself maybe into more chaos. The more you control the fear, the faster the universe is going to be able to go through this purification process in your life and lead you to, that more complete understanding of what's going on. Wow, this is a bit of a fiery one, I will say. And so it's going to be really important to, I think one of the things to really kind of pay attention to is the the emotions in the sense of like the frustration and the anger, because those are very fire-based emotions that you feel, and really looking at where the passion and the desire and the drive is being distorted by the frustration of having to wait, by the frustration of having to sit in the discomfort. Because the more that you can sit with that and understand that, the easier it will be to sit in it. And as I said, the whole point of this reading was less about trying to find answers and trying to find ways to kind of mitigate those feelings that you're having with all the fire that's going on, and just to be able to understand that this is part of the process. This is part of what's going on. And so if you've kind of burned yourself out, because sometimes the 9 and the 10 can be burnout cards, if you've burned yourself out, then it's important to remember that when you've burned yourself out, your fear and your mindset on disaster and destruction is going to be a lot louder. And so it's just really important to be able to allow yourself to sit with what's going on, and instead of chasing after solutions, just be with the sensations and see what naturally comes up and comes to your awareness, because that's the magic that you're going to have for this week. So I hope that something in the reading landed for you, that you were able to get some kind of clarity without a solution, and that you will come back next week to see where we're going and what's the messages and the guidance is going to be for next week. In the meantime, if you like the video, click down in the bottom, subscribe to the channel if you like it, and in the meantime, take care, and I will see you around the webs.